Right, here's the video for Unit 5, Lesson 3, Domain and Range worksheet. Okay, let's remember that domain is kind of like the width of a graph, so it contains all of our x's, and range is always kind of the height of our graph, so it contains all y's. Okay, so find the domain and range of coordinates and decide whether it is a function. Okay, so the domain here is going to be all of the x's, so I will highlight all of the domain in yellow. All right, so that will contain, we'll do those little curly brackets, 2, -5. -5 was already written, so I don't have to write that second one, and 0. Now, domains are x's, and functions cannot have repeating x's. Okay, there is 2 different y's for this one x coordinate. That means that it is not a function. So then we have our range. I'm going to highlight those in orange. And we will list those out. So -3, 8, 6, 7. All right, so number 2, domains are always my x's. And range is always my y's. So domain, 0, -1, -5, and another 0, that's a repeating x, so automatically no, that is not a function. And range, -5, 4.5, 6.8, and 7. All right, number 3, discrete or continuous. This is not one continuous line, so it is discrete. Okay, the domain here, we're just going to list out kind of the coordinates here. I'm just going to label so I can easily decide. So domain, it looks like it is 0. Just looking at the bottom, the x coordinates, there's a dot on 1. There's a dot on 2, there's a dot on 3, and there's a dot on 4. Okay, there are not double dots on any x coordinates, like they're not sharing. There's no second dot anywhere over here, 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 or here. So it is a function. And the range, let me just label my graph. All right, my range is going to be starting at 0. The next one's at 2, then 4, then 6, then 8. All right, discrete or continuous. This is one continuous line. Even though there are segments on either side, the data is all connected with a continuous line. All right, the domain, that is going to be my x values. So there's a point here. I can actually make a point here because it crosses through. I can make a point here, and I can make a point here. So domain, we'll start with 0. Looks like 1, 2, 3, and 4. And my range, let's see, 0, 2, 4, 6, and 8. Those points are all where the dots, the points fall on the y-axis. And there are no repeating x's, and it does pass the vertical line test. Okay, so yes, it is a function. All right, here we go. This is a continuous because it is continually being connected through a line. The domain here, let's just use this point, and we can use this point. We'll just use those three. Domain is going to be my x's, so let's just label this so I know at what point they're hitting. All right, so we have a plotted point at 1. We actually have another one here at 2. We have one at 3. Crosses through another point at 4. There is one at 5. All right, the range. Just gonna label. All right, looks like we do have one at 0. Actually, that's 1, sorry. 1. We have one at 2. We have another at 3. One more at 4. Another at 5. And we do have one at 6. Okay, this passes the vertical line test. It never intersects with a vertical line more than once at a time. So yes, it is a function. Number 6, this is discrete data. It is not connected through a line. The domain, we're just going to look at the x values. So we have 1, 3, 4, and 6. And the range, we are going to start up here, so that would be 5, and there's 2 at 5, but that's okay because we can have repeated y's because they make a horizontal line that's still a function. We have one at 2, and we have one at -2. And yes, it is a function. Even though we have repeating y's, that's okay. It makes a horizontal line, and horizontal lines are functions. We just cannot have repeating x's. All right, here we have a continuous graph. It is a function. It will pass the vertical line test. Okay, it does not intersect at more than one place at a time. And our domain, we're going to start back here, -5. Let's see if there's any other points. Looks like that point kind of hits perfectly where -3 is, and then we have -2, and then we can do +3, and this is an open circle, so it does not actually contain that point, so we cannot write it. So we are done with the domain. The range, starting at the bottom, looks like it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -6. Then there's another point at -2. Okay, that point is included in the graph, sorry. Okay, and then all the way up to +2. Last one over here, this is a continuous piece of data. It is connected through a line. Is it a function? It will pass the vertical line test, so yes. And then our domain, we're going to start here at -5. We can keep going. I see that we have some points that cross through perfectly right here. That would be -3. There's one at 0 right there. There's another one at +3, and there is one at 5. Looks pretty symmetrical. All right, and range, it doesn't ever go below 0, so 0, and then it goes up to 4, and the top of it is at 5. All right, so ranges are height. On the back page, we're going to see is something a function or not a function. We just need to know, are there any repeating x's? So if there's 2 arrows coming out of an x, it is not a function, just like that right there. So I'm going to kind of highlight that as my reason. Okay, so that is no, that is not a function. All right, let's see, -3 is to -1, -1, -2, 1, -1. It is okay that there are 2 things at -1 because this is our y and this is our x. So as long as there's no 2 arrows coming out of an x, it is a function. So there's only 1 arrow coming out of each of these, so it is a function. And there's only 1 arrow coming out of each of these, so it is a function. All right, graph the function. Is the domain of the graph discrete or continuous? Find the domain and range. All right, every time you see a table, for the most part, the data is going to be discrete because you will have to pick up your pencil or pen to graph the next point. So we are just gonna say they are both discrete. And let's go ahead and graph these. So I'm just gonna do label 4, 6, 8, 10, and then 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. So we have 2, 20, 4, 40, 6, 60, 8, 80. Because it's discrete, we do not have to connect them. All right, our domain is going to be our x values, so 2, 4, 6, 8. And our range going to be our y values, so 20, 40, 60, 80. All right, and the very last one, we're going to graph this, so let's make sure we label. I'm going to do tens. All right, so 2, 10, 4, 20, 6, 30, 8, 40. It is discrete, so we're not connecting it. Domain is going to be all our x values, 2, 4, 6, 8. And range is going to be all our y values, 10, 20, 30, 40. All right, and that is lesson 3, unit 5.